Are we seeing the final days of the Nintendo Switch, or are we standing on the edge of something huge waiting to be revealed? That's the question rattling around in countless gaming communities right now. People are torn between celebrating new titles and criticizing Nintendo's choices. Fans can't decide if this is the company's last-ditch effort to squeeze life from the aging hardware or a strategic move to keep everyone hooked until the next big announcement. But that's not the whole story. Underneath the mixed reactions and meme-worthy announcements, there's a persistent rumor that Nintendo's future plans are more complicated than anyone realizes. Some believe it's about fulfilling old contractual obligations, while others think this is part of a secret strategy to stall until they can drop a brand new console. Today, we're diving deep into these theories, controversies, and shockers to figure out what's really going on and why fans are so heated. From bizarre simulators to big-name sequels, the recent Nintendo Direct has given us plenty to talk about. Is the Switch limping toward retirement? Or is there a method to the madness we've just witnessed? Stick around, because what happens next might just change how you view Nintendo forever. Welcome to Gamer Service Announcement. GSA, the more you know. Click that subscribe button and hit on the alert button to get notified about new videos for you. When Nintendo announced this Direct, no one expected a massive hardware reveal, but most assumed there'd be something bigger than the usual filler. After all, the Switch launched back in 2017. For some fans, it's run its course. For others, it's still a goldmine of creativity and endless gaming fun. Yet the tension in the air was clear. Will we finally see the rumored Switch 2? The actual presentation left more questions than answers. In a move that still has viewers buzzing, Nintendo showcased a strange assortment of titles that felt like a grab bag from across the gaming spectrum. We had quirky indie-like projects, nostalgic remasters, and even a few high-profile gems nestled among them. Some watchers claim this was Nintendo's way of tossing in everything but the kitchen sink to satisfy old licensing deals. Others propose it was a quiet admission that the current Switch era is winding down. Either way, no one can deny this Direct stirred the pot. Every corner of the internet lit up with hot takes, from "Why are we still seeing these types of games so late in the cycle?" to "Nintendo must be stalling, something big is on the horizon." And that's the real catch. Every single announcement felt like it was simultaneously propping up the Switch and poking at an unspoken reality that the console might be nearing its final days. The most talked about aspect of this Direct was its scattershot lineup. We got a fresh look at Dragon Quest I and II HD Remake, a project sure to delight longtime RPG fans, but leaving casual onlookers scratching their heads. The footage looked pretty slick, nostalgic but modernized, and it felt like an early highlight. Then, just as watchers started to get excited, things took a left turn into obscure detective territory with titles like No Sleep for Konam the AI, The Smum. That's where many fans began to ask, what's going on? Are we just throwing random games out there? From there, we plunged into an odd array of remastered classics and smaller-scale RPGs. Titles like R.Remastered, an old Atlas action RPG rumored to connect to the Shin Megami Tensei universe, showed up in rapid-fire succession. You could practically feel the whiplash. On one hand, you have these niche, curiosity-piquing relics that some fans have never heard of. On the other, you've got brand new or lesser-known IPs like Shadow Labyrinth, a 2D Metroidvania where you become a weird Pac-Man-esque creature. At times, it felt as though Nintendo was rummaging through a dusty vault labeled "We forgot to release these," and decided to hurl them into a single presentation. Some viewers found charm in the randomness, while others considered it a sign that Nintendo was simply fulfilling contractual obligations for third-party publishers. Then you had the Twitter darlings, those titles that spark intense hype online but rarely turn into blockbuster sellers in real life. Patapon and Patapon 2 Replay got the "oh wow, it's back" treatment from the niche crowds, while more mainstream viewers probably just blinked and said, huh? The repeated question throughout the show, are these the best games to showcase right now? The real moment that jolted fans awake was the reveal of Metroid Prime 4 gameplay footage. This wasn't some fleeting logo or cryptic teaser. Nintendo showed us detailed environments, fresh mechanics, and an almost cinematic approach to the iconic formula. Samus Aran is back with a twist. Psychic abilities that let you slow down and control shots after firing, manipulate the environment, and solve puzzles in brand new ways. If you were dozing during the earlier segments, this was your wake-up call. The visuals looked gorgeous. The planet Samus explores brims with otherworldly flora and fauna, and the enemy designs have a distinct, menacing flair. Even if people weren't sure about the rest of the Direct, most agreed that Metroid Prime 4 stole stole the show with its polished look and intriguing gameplay. The only problem? A release window marked vaguely as 2025. Nintendo offered no specific date, just the promise that it's coming next year. Barring any unexpected delays, within minutes, social media exploded. Some fans praised the bold evolution of the Metroid Prime gameplay loop. Others fumed that we're still not getting a definitive launch date. The cynics out there suspect it might slip into late 2025 or beyond, especially if a new system is on the horizon. Conspiracy theories ran wild. Could Nintendo be preparing Metroid Prime 4 as a cross-gen title for the rumored Switch 2? Is this game meant to bridge the gap between the old hardware and the new? Regardless, people felt a rush of excitement in the middle of an otherwise bizarre presentation. But that wasn't the whole story. The event quickly flipped back into puzzling announcements, leaving fans with that singular beacon of hope, overshadowed by confusion. When a system has been around as long as the Switch, it's not uncommon for rumors to swirl about its successor. Whispers of a Switch Pro or Super Switch started ages ago, only to morph into talk of a full-blown Switch 2. Many fans believe Nintendo is holding back major reveals for the next console. Others think the company is simply offloading everything in its pipeline to keep the existing user base happy, or at least occupied, until they're ready to make a big hardware announcement. Beyond hardware, there's speculation about Nintendo's relationships with third-party developers. Why push games like Disney Villain's Cursed Cafe, which frankly looks like a mobile release, onto a console nearing the end of its life cycle? Some say Nintendo might have signed deals years ago and is now obligated to give these titles a platform. Others think Nintendo genuinely wants to pad the release schedule so the Switch doesn't appear to be on life support, but the controversies don't stop there. For years, fans have been clamoring for certain big remasters. Where's The Legend of Zelda? Wind Waker HD on Switch? Where's Twilight Princess HD? Each direct that goes by without them only amplifies the frustration. Some are even spouting conspiracies that these titles were delayed due to internal disagreements or changes in strategy. Then you have the rumored legal snags with certain third parties, accusations surfaced, or studios tangled in messy negotiations. Suddenly, a random detective game or cozy simulator might seem like a safer bet to fill out the roster. After that brief shining moment of Metroid glory, the Direct took us right back to the land of niche. We saw Witchbrook, a life sim meets Magic Academy game that, to some, looked enchanting, and to others looked like something that belongs on mobile. Online co-op, whimsical aesthetics, a girl goes to witch school premise. It's definitely an acquired taste, not a grand system seller. Next came The Eternal Life of Goldman, a hand-drawn 2D platformer that actually seemed to have more promise, featuring an old man with a cane who plays a lot like Scrooge McDuck from the classic DuckTales. The difference? This time there's a heavier emphasis on story and an art style that sets it apart from typical retro throwbacks. It's cool, sure, but is it the kind of killer app that's going to convince people the Switch still has plenty of life left? Probably not. Fans were also baffled by the continued absence of certain rumored re-releases. People keep bringing up Fire Emblem titles that never surfaced, plus rumors of a Metroid Prime 1 and 2 double pack, which remain elusive. Instead, we got a bunch of random announcements during a rapid-fire sizzle reel that included intriguing but not jaw-dropping offerings like High on Life, Star Overdrive, The Wandering Village, King of Meat, and Loose Lagoon. Then there was the half-baked surprise of Fantasy Life 1 with a choppy frame rate that set the internet ablaze. For every piece of new content that might spark interest, there were half a dozen titles that left even hardcore Nintendo enthusiasts raising eyebrows. So, was Nintendo merely ticking boxes, or is this all part of some grand transition strategy? Historically, Nintendo's console transitions haven't always been smooth. Remember the final days of the Wii U? They trickled out a few major releases, padded with smaller third-party or indie titles, all while quietly prepping the Switch. This Direct feels vaguely reminiscent of that pattern. You've got a handful of big attention grabbers, Metroid Prime 4, a new Marvel Cosmic beat-em-up, and a whole slew of smaller projects designed to keep the pipeline flowing. Notably, Nintendo introduced a new feature called the Virtual Game Card, a function that lets players virtually load digital titles as though they were physical game cards. It's an interesting idea that suggests Nintendo is experimenting with bridging some of the digital-physical divide. Could this be a test run for how they'll handle game sharing or backwards compatibility on the next system? Fans certainly think so. The more conspiratorial folks suggest it's a clue about how digital ownership might carry over to future hardware. Nintendo's track record shows that they like to build hype slowly, drop cryptic announcements, and then let speculation run wild. Sometimes they do it intentionally, other times it's just how their marketing schedule works. But looking at the bigger picture, you might see how these seemingly random, underwhelming announcements form a mosaic that hints at a looming shift in the company's overall strategy. Are we just months away from a major console reveal? Or is Nintendo content to ride the Switch's success for another year or two? The fan response has been a roller coaster. On social media, you'll find hype threads celebrating titles like Marvel Cosmic Invas, an X-Men arcade-style game that lets you swap characters on the fly, and features up to 4-player online co-op. People who love classic beat-em-ups are stoked. At the same time, you've got an entire subset of fans rolling their eyes over the umpteenth cozy farming sim or minimalistic puzzle game. Some are calling it the Bargain Bin Direct, a sign that Nintendo's lost its spark. Then there are the diehards who will defend Nintendo no matter what. They argue that variety is good for the platform, that not every title needs to be a blockbuster. They point out that smaller games can cultivate creative experiences you won't find in the mainstream. This perspective has some merit, but it doesn't change the frustration many feel about the glaring omissions. Why no mention of improved Pokémon performance? Why gloss over fan demands for beloved Zelda HD remasters? Speaking of Pokémon, Pokémon Legend ZA popped up, looking as choppy as ever. Despite the rough performance, it's sure to sell millions because the Pokémon brand is unstoppable. Fans can't help comparing it to Pokémon Legends Arceus, which had a more unique setting. Some vow to skip this new game out of protest. But let's be honest, Pokémon titles always rake in cash, even when players complain. And that's part of the backlash. If you keep buying them, Nintendo and Game Freak have no reason to change. Now, if you thought the weirdness ended with cafe simulators and detective spin-offs, brace yourself. Rhythm Heaven Groove is on the way, tapping into a long-standing fan-favorite series known for addictive minigames. Rhythm fans are excited, but is it enough to carry this direct on its own? Probably not. Then we got a stealth drop of Rift of the Necrodancer, another rhythm-based adventure. Great news for those into high-energy experiences, but still, it's a niche within a niche. This barrage of announcements continued with a brand new Tamagotchi Life entry called Living the Dream, slated for 2026. The mention of such a distant release had many rolling their eyes. Why even announce it now if it's that far off? Here's where more speculation creeps in. Maybe this was never about building short-term hype. Instead, some think it's about showing investors a long-term roadmap, keeping them confident that Nintendo's software pipeline is robust, even if some titles won't arrive for a while. And let's not forget about the mobile app Nintendo Today, introduced by Shigeru Miyamoto himself as though it were a groundbreaking service. The gaming community was mostly unimpressed. Why would I want a curated news app from Nintendo when I can follow a dozen YouTubers for real talk? Nonetheless, it launched immediately. Some think it's a Trojan horse for more direct marketing, or a potential link between Switch owners and Nintendo's future platform. Others just see it as another mobile app to ignore. So what does all this mean for the Nintendo Switch, and for the fans who've stuck with it through thick and thin? On one level, this Direct felt like a disjointed mixture of half-baked remasters, niche curiosities, and a few standout titles. On another level, it might be a carefully orchestrated puzzle hinting that the company is in the middle of a major transition. Maybe they're padding the schedule to tide us over until a shiny new console appears. Maybe they're just fulfilling old contracts while quietly shifting resources to unannounced projects. One thing is clear, Metroid Prime 4 is the big showstopper, a dazzling glimpse into what Nintendo can still achieve when they pour their heart into a project. But even that iconic franchise can't hide the cracks forming in the Switch's aging foundation. Fans are antsy for something new, and each passing day without an official Switch successor announcement ramps up the speculation and the frustration. So, is the Switch truly on its way out, or is Nintendo just biding its time to pull off one last epic flourish? We might be closer to those answers than we think. Until then, we're left juggling excitement for the few standouts, bafflement at the random scattershot games, and a gnawing question: what's Nintendo really planning behind the curtain? Feel free to form your own theories. Are we about to witness a bold Nintendo pivot, or is this just a series of random updates without deeper meaning? Let us know what you believe in the comments. Either way, there's no denying that something is brewing, something that could redefine how we play and what we expect from the House of Mario. Keep your eyes peeled because the Switch may not be dead yet, but if these announcements are any indication, We're either in for a slow fade or a jaw-dropping surprise. And right now, no one can definitively say which one it'll be. If you like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that alert button for more awesome videos. Gamers Service Announcement: the more you know.